Welcome to Charlotte Motor Speedway, America's home for racing and the home of the Queen City Gambit. The 2025 Stars Championship Series main events and pre-finals set for the day. First up, though, we need to warm up. Both myself and Justin Prince here in the booth, Alexander Searle, Haley Donaldson, and the rest of our Kart Chaser crew down on pit lane here during the opening round of practices. And after what has been a pretty solid afternoon, it is a chilly Sunday morning here in Concord, North Carolina, Justin.
Yes, indeed. Temperatures right now very chilly is what you can really say. To give an exact number on the weather conditions here right now, as Lenny, hold on one second. Bonanno already with some issues in the warm-up in the middle of the grass. It's 36 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment here in Charlotte. So these drivers really trying to warm up these engines, warm up these tires, get the final checks in before they get going for the racing here today.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that right there is going to give John Bonanno nothing to go off of going into the latter sessions with a pre-final on tap, with, of course, most importantly here, that main event in the afternoon. They'll all follow that Mazda Motorsports Pro Show. If you're watching our coverage right now, you're watching for free on YouTube or Facebook, or maybe up on that 68-foot big screen or something like that on the back straightaway. But we'll be exclusive to premium members besides those that are on property for pre-finals and the support class main events. But the Mazda Motorsports Pro Show divisions, OKN Junior, OKN Stars, and Pro Stars, will be free to view with their main events kicking off at 1:15 p.m. Eastern. We're following around the 2-1-3 of Brett Harper, one of a handful of Kart Republics in attendance in the home state of the Kart Republic USA importership based out of Trackhouse Motorplex. It's a part of the VKG family, the Vantage Karting Group, that helps bring the tires and engines to life for the majority of our classes as well, importing the Miami engines and those MG tires that are the official spec tire of the Stars Championship Series. Eric Fagan on top here in warm-up by a good margin, Justin. The best drivers are able to adapt to any condition. And right now, Eric Fagan has proven why he has been the best of them all through the weekend to this point. I mean, qualified on pole. He didn't win both heat races, but he was leading the most laps in both. He had a great run in that second heat in a battle with the likes of Bonanno and crew. I think he enters today with maybe still a little bit more of an edge on the field, but it looked like as Saturday went on from qualifying through Heat 1 through Heat 2, he saw his competitors get closer and closer on speed.
Yeah, especially with what we've seen with Bonanno able to close up, in particular in those final stages to make the passes in those particular heats. So I think for him, it's going to be about, does he have things down in for that long run speed to make sure he can fend off the one machine and the rest of the pack as the race comes into its final minutes. That's going to be so important to make sure to have that all down in if he wants a shot to try and win in the final in particular for today, and better yet, have a good pre-final to be able to set things up for later on this afternoon.
Austin Queen now moving up into that second spot. Still chasing Eric Fagan. He's still been able to put a couple tenths on everyone here in this opening session. Adamar Caligaro on that SLA Kart Racing Xpree into third. Harper was still in the top 5 after that. He sits fourth. And back at the end of the top 5, Miguel Mir. It's a closely packed kind of second through 9th or 10th, if you will. But Eric Fagan, even on the last lap, found a little bit more, a good bit more. He'll move up to more than half a second over the majority of the field, 4.5 tenths back to Austin Queen. That is a huge margin at the end of warm-up, and knowing how good he was yesterday, I'd be very surprised if he threw tires at it and that being the difference. So I think really this is a shot across the bow here, Justin, that we've got a lot of speed for the rest of the field to try and find to close up. Good lap at the end there for Anthony Stifler on the Hardin Motorsports Group machine. He closes up towards the end of the warm-up session. And we bring our first one to a close, our first bit of on-track activity from Sunday at the Queen City Gambit. 500 donuts from Dunkin' Donuts here this weekend. for all the competitors down on the grid. The Stars Championship Series says Sundays are all about donuts. You're required to do donuts if you win in KZ Masters or in Pro Stars. If you don't, well, your trophy is not going home with you. And then, of course, for the rest of the competitors, including the potential winners later today, 500 donuts from Dunkin' Donuts, our friends over there. And Jackson Gardner, he had to put that order in Wednesday of this week to make sure they were ready for him at 5 a.m. in the morning to come in and get a whole lot of boxes for the entire field to enjoy down at the grid.
Yes, indeed, some nice tasting donuts as well, but...
Did you have one yet?
Yes, I did.
Good. Did it warm you up?
Well, it's a donut. It doesn't particularly heat you up. It's not like a warm drink or a soup or anything. But it is still a donut. It's still good donuts.
Okay, good. As long as you're taken care of, Justin, that's what I care about here. Your first Stars Championship Series weekend. We want to make it a good time. What a cool shot down here. Kudos to Haley and Alex and our director, Riley Can. What a great angle down low of the scale line image. And up there is where everyone will get to see their big names and their go-karts and faces. The Charlotte Motor Speedway has been so gracious to allow us to stream and feed to their Jumbotron on the back straightaway. We were able to get that going for the entire crew earlier in the day yesterday. We're hoping to do the same for our good friends over at Cup Karts North America. I know it would have been super cool for Greg Jasperson, so if any of our 206 friends and family and KC supporters are watching along here at home or listening in, don't worry. When we come back for the CKNA Spring Nats next year, assuming we get the call back, I got to make sure Greg still wants us, but we'll be up on that big screen with the best coverage of the best 206 racing anywhere in the country and anywhere in the world, with another packed house, I'm sure, for that major. Of course, the CKNA races will be live on Kart Chaser. There's 2 more majors that we've got on tap for the year. The Summer Nationals, July 4th at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. And the CKNA Grands this year jumps up a couple weekends, which will be well received, I think, by a lot of competitors because while it's cold here this morning in Charlotte, North Carolina in April, Justin, I can tell you from experience, it's very cold in Newcastle, Indiana in mid-October. So they're up at the end of September now, and just that little bit of a shift should be a huge improvement, I think, in some of the conditions that the drivers will have to withstand because there were some long days. You were able to obviously check it out a little bit last year as well from home. We were live for what felt like 14 or 16 hours straight from 8 a.m. till, well, about midnight on some of the shootout races there.
These afternoons and these days can absolutely fly on by in terms of time as you progress through the event schedule. But speaking of the schedule, Micro Swift in their warm-up now underway as these drivers get themselves ready to situate themselves here today to see how are they going to race.
Let's take a look at what the Charlotte Motor Speedway kart track looks like here with our animated track map. 15 turns in total, just shy of about 7 or 8 tenths of a mile, and you've got a couple of major passing zones. Turn 1, obviously, a good run out of turn 14 sets you up to get on the brakes, and the driver's line naturally takes them back to the opposite side. The next kind of zone you have a little bit maybe in turns 5 or 6, and we've even seen some passes in turn number 7, but the 2, 3, 4, even really starting at turn 1 and 5, 6, 7 are rhythm sections. You have to sacrifice the corner you're entering for the next one, and vice versa all the way down until you get onto the next straightaway, because the run out of turn 7, well, even if you got to brush the brakes at turn number 8, that's a run and line of momentum that takes you all the way around the corner and down to the brake zone at turn 10. And then, of course, in the S's section coming out of it, you wind the motor back up to get really hard on the binders at turn 14. That final turn on the racetrack, 6 tenths of a mile, 15 turns, and a hairpin that has seen over-unders, dive bombs, side-by-side moments, and 3 and 4 wide runs to the line, and even out of that dog leg at turn 15. We saw in the Micro Swift class yesterday in their final heat race, Justin, a barn burner, and Lennox Lockhart stealing the win by just 0.03 of a second. Coming out of turn 15, he was behind the leader. By the time they got to that finish line, he was just enough ahead.
They put on some fantastic racing all throughout the weekend with some of the battling and shuffling, and expecting that to be the same case here today, where this package seems to be with how some of the drivers have played the aggression levels here in this series. The question's going to be, again, how will the pre-final really play out? Going to be a lot of curious racing for some. Slate Harrell on screen, for example, started up front in qualifying, but remember had the issues with the safety side of things with the weight. With the Bullets on said weight yesterday, well, that 8 machine was only able to get up with the points metric to 13th position for later today after being the quick qualifier beforehand. So it's going to be a long way up for your top driver in this warm-up session to be able to claw the way to the pack here today.
Slate Harrell in the Nitro Kart still as we follow along, setting the initial pace here by a good bit. This kid was super fast yesterday, last to that lead pack in that heat race, of course. But there were a number of other players. Lennox Lockhart now to the top in the 14. Smiling ear to ear as he and his dad came on by the Kart Chaser 10 on his way over to the Velocity Racing Sodi tent. And a big shout out to his father as well. He gave the hardworking crew here, who are above the age of 21, a couple Coronas at the end of the day, stocked our cooler up. We rated the setup, saw that we were empty, and yeah, after weathering the conditions for 12 to 14 hours a day, the hardworking guys and girls we have on the crew that are of age and of legal to drink age, I want to again reiterate that, he gave them a couple extra cervezas at the end of the day. So thank you to Mr. Lockhart. Thank you to Lennox for always being open with us, and he gave a great interview as well right after his heat race. It was so fun to watch the excitement and emotion on his face as well. You know, sometimes drivers come off into the scale line, and if the race itself wasn't all too entertaining from our point of view, it wasn't that exhilarating for them. But Lennox, you could see how much fun he had out on the racetrack battling in that second heat race, and how cool it was for him to get the win at the line.
Yeah, even his competitors were excited about how that race played out. We've seen on the camera angles afterwards, conversations. These competitors like to have fun. It's not looking fun for the 21 machine. Look at that at the bottom. That's Gottschalk that's already gone up to the scale line, it looks like.
Yeah, Zev Gottschalk from Curacao with an issue in warm-up. Not sure what is the problem that has taken him to the scale house early. Let's see if we can find out. And at some point, I'm sure we'd love to be able to say hi down to Alexander Searle on pit lane and Haley Donaldson. Hopefully they're doing what they can to stay warm because it is still a very chilly and slippery morning. Now, that said, I think for the classes that are coming up, kind of batting cleanup on our lineup towards the bottom of the run order, the track is going to be wicked fast because when the rubber that gets laid down, which finally we can say we've had enough dry action to see some dark groove and racing lines on the racetrack, Justin, it kind of has a peak point with too much heat on the surface, too much heat, surface temperature where that rubber becomes slippery. It bakes and all of a sudden gets really, as they call it, greasy. So when it does that, that's when you start to lose grip, you slide around, and you'll hear drivers talk about looking for when the track greases over towards the end of the day. But in the morning, when that rubber is cool and it hasn't gotten past that peak point, you'll see Sunday morning warm-up sometime post the fastest times of the weekend. And the first few sessions here on this racetrack, K Masters, Micro Swift, I don't think they're going to see their best times of the weekend. They may go pretty good, but you're still cleaning off the dirt, debris to get the wind overnight blew onto the racetrack, and you're building some temp into the surface. But for the classes in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th time slot in the morning, they're going to be ripping around here. Cool temps means the motors run better. Cool temps here means the rubber is not necessarily too hot. It's going to be fast, and check that out. What a great close-up angle. Kudos to our on-site crew there. That is Haley Donaldson with a great shot. The hub fully slid in. So there is, depending on the chassis manufacturer, 1 or 2 bolts, usually a master bolt, and then maybe a very small set screw on the rear hubs that the tires bolt to that sit on that rear axle. And, well, one of 2 things happen if they work their way loose or break in some fashion. They slide in like that, which is unfortunate, but the best case scenario, the worst part is they slide off the hub and then you lose the tire and it goes bouncing across the racetrack. But in the case of Seth Gottschalk, slid all the way in. That'll make a major difference in handling. Handling good though for the 29 of Brody Stoffel. He was able to pip Slate Harrell here at the end of this session to go to the top for Jay Howard driver development. Lennox Lockhart into third. Caden Gladera fourth. Liam Francisco. Jack Katowski. Bo Stowers with a lap at the end on the RPM Nitro kart. He'll jump to seventh. Austin Taylor, Dominic Nagel, and even with that hub slid in, Zev Gottschalk was able to crack the top 10 in the number 21, but albeit a second off the pace. So a bit of a shake-up, a few new names jumping up with hopefully some confidence coming off that warm-up, going into their pre-final later on this morning. For now, practice continues here from America's home for racing, Charlotte Motor Speedway. You're watching Kart Chasers coverage of the Queen City Gambit. We'll be right back. Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Let's go race.
Come on, man.
Back for more warm-up action as the Pro Masters and the Pro Super Masters are on the racetrack. Queen City Gambit on this Sunday morning. Starting things off, amongst one of the first cars on track, keeping an eye on Machinko as he works his way around the circuit. Remember yesterday, as to how things go out, well, Pro Masters and Super Masters, how they sorted out. Scott Presti got the most points on the metric. Chico ended up finishing up fourth in his class in those said metric points for the running order today. So far, top of the board in the session, 44 flats for the Magic Kart. Tries to perform well, a little bit stronger than yesterday where he was amongst the mid-pack in the action bid. So we'll see what happens here today with Magic Kart in this one. Something else drivers keeping an eye on is that 612. Jake had a good second heat of the day yesterday, but the first heat Ended up having a DNF in that one. That put him down the running order. It's going to be a battle to be able to try and get that track position in the pre-final. Set himself up for the final later on today as a result. Sketchy Barnes also up there. But some of the top teams for today's action. The rest of these drivers as they warm up in this section of note. It is Hugh Templeman in the other grouping. The Supermasters leading the way at the moment in the section. Who showed flashes of speed as well. Also up there in the order. A little bit jumbled up class to class. How things are sorted out at the moment. Less than 3.5 minutes to work with in this session. Work our way through the early morning conditions. Once again, this racetrack carries a lot of grip as the race goes on and as the afternoon progresses here today. A lot of the marbles cleaned up from yesterday. This track does build up a lot of them as time progresses and as more laps get turned around this racetrack. Drops keep an eye on here today at 673 right now. Also tied up with the finishing metric with Barnes yesterday. That moved his way up into the fourth spot in the running order. Let's those at the top of the board in this session. Time goes on here. Supermaster competition for a while now with some good finishes. See Templeman now on your screen. Templeman, mind you, is starting the midst of the Hornets nest, starting around 12th overall for the pre-final per the metric details here today. Out. The day goes on. Of course, one of the drivers that's also ran an X30 at Track House. His competition is racing. Of course, one of the many that races a fair bit here based in Charlotte, North Carolina area. Hotel industry. Drivers that has raced are back there. 21 years old. Back in terms of some of the social media posts. Started racing back 21 years old. Stopped at 25. Restarted when he went to the United States of Colorado back in 2010. Now, in 2012, was among those working shifters before moving into his Kart years ago. About 4 years ago on the team. Templeman. So, under a minute to work with in this session. Machiko currently the top hot lap at the moment. Second. Third spot. Tyler Gilbo in fourth. Blake Slane rounding out the 5 drivers at the top of the final in this session. Still plenty of other sessions, mind you, in this morning. Before we progress forward, mind you, for the chart for today, each of the groups for the pre-final and final only will have things sorted out for them in terms of their groupings later on in the warm-up section for those with 2 groups of drivers later on today. Then work forward from there to be able to set things up for their pack. Checker flag now waving in the session. Chico slows down the tempo as a result of the end of said session. So in the end, Chico top of the board, as you see, it is 609. Sketchy Barnes trying to finish up things strong after starting at the bottom of the board for much of the session. 7th quickest, picked up tempo, in 42 flat. Quick times, though, were in the 40.9s. Chico, untouchable in terms of tempo in that hot lap. Have Garl in second, Jake Fitter in third position, Gilbo in fourth lane in his class. Led off things there for him, but fifth overall. Sanchez and Sketchy Barnes, the 7th-place spot. So now we get ready for our next warm-up group. So far, 3 complete in terms of warm-up rotation. So here's how they will group things up. For the metric chart here today, it will be for this group B, it will be B pre-final warm-up. For those who are warmed up in that battle to try and get top 10 in the final to move on later on today. Then the A drivers will line up. Those drivers already and wants to cut line will be battling for track position for the final later on today. Once we get to the late afternoon portion of the session after the pro show. See some of the preparation as those drivers continue to line things up on pit road and ready to get things sorted out here in the next few minutes or so for their respective pack. Drivers now on the racetrack for KA Junior Group B. A warm-up session. Among some of the drivers notable in this group, Winston Kubinski. Amongst those that were just outside the cut line. All that lock into the final later on today. Some of the other names. Arthur Bobby, who's in the 7th position. Kai Mars had some issues in his races. Starting in 6th later on in the pre-final. A couple others looking to try and battle like Isaac Payne. Armin Mustafa comes to mind as well. A part of this group. The 827 lead things off so far in terms of speed. 877 of Payne now on screen. The match will put them in the 42-point mark. Possible 53 was the highest total for reference on average finish. Let's take a look at the running order coming up here from the final B later on to go fully through it. To remind you of how it looks, Babinski, Landers on the front row. Then it's going to be Ben Glarman and Meyer Lewis, followed by Leonardo Silvel and Kai Mars in 6th position. And it is Jarquin in 8th position. Bowling Green will start in 9th. Grayson Knoll in 10th. Mustafa and Payne in 11th and 12th. And Silva alongside Rocky in the 14th position. Martin, then Dolauer in 16th. Horsey back in 17th. Westfall in 18th. Edo in 19th. And Edowitz in the top 20. 24 total carts will make the start in the final B later on today. These drivers, in a lot of cases, it came down to lap times from their starting positions as the tiebreakers will try and move on amongst pre-final B. Eye on what they're able to do later on today. Following along with some of the drivers in the pack, Easton Kapinski leading the way still in this session. EOS Kart and AEM Racing Machine still holding on towards the top of the board, second overall in this session. Not bad so far. In terms of pace, he is within a couple 100 of the top time. Two-time KCA karting champion and national race winner. That coming next year. Start things off in the national series, the MCC Cincinnati competition in the Stars Series. 2 minutes to work on the session. It's the 8:23 of Mars. Now focus on the screen. Mars with many drivers who have experience racing at Atlanta Motorsports Park. Towards their home facilities. Plenty of competitors here today race at that track as their home track. Being someone talked to by the team's media team that's for years under the helmet, able to see what's the driver and what's on the mindset. Just no competitor. Top of the board. Now in the 7th. Someone that's going to need a good run to be able to get into the top 10 is now top of the board. That just shuffled up. Brian Westfall, who into this warm-up session and he's starting 18th. Needs something in fast. The Texan driver is going to be someone that will have to keep an eye on the 847 car. They're going to charge up the 8 spots they're going to need. Will be in the show later on this afternoon. Take a look at Bowling Green on screen meanwhile. Ranked in the 5th position in the session. Green. Experience, and you when it comes to the competition at Daytona Week a few months ago. So has shown good speed in competitions such as USPKS, as well in the national tours. Let's now shuffle back a little bit. Should see the checker flag waving in the section. Now, checker flag coming out for this first of 2 warm-up groupings for KA Junior. Fastest time for 43.2. Rise of Payne is behind them in the session. We'll see if any drivers out with an improvement on their time. Giving themselves a confidence boost for the racing today. amongst these drivers on screen? Well, no change. In fact, the rest of the field takes the checkered flag. So, warm-up Group B is now complete. Aim top of the board, Kabinski in second, Westfall in third, Green, Murray in the fifth position. Mars and then William Veteran back in seventh. Sarvale in eighth. Raki and Mustafa all amongst the top 10. A spread amongst the top 10 of 7/10 of a second here. So they are notables towards the back of the field. Matthew Landers towards the start of the front. With the starting grid later on today. To not get towards the top of the board in the warm-up was only around 12th position. So top to bottom at the running order for that part of the grid. We still have one more grouping left to go once the warm-ups. We'll take a quick step aside. KA Junior Group A coming up here on Kart Chaser.
Paulie Massimino wins in KA. Paulie Massimino is a winner in OKN Stars.
Take your driving to the next level with one-on-one coaching from 2024 OKN Stars champion Paulie Massimino. Kart rental options are available if you'd like to keep yours at home, and drivers in all classes are welcome. From Briggs 206 to Mini to KA100 and X30 with in-depth data analysis, onboard video footage review, and lead follow on-track sessions. Each private coaching session will see you end as a more complete driver than when you started. Book your coaching session now.
Kyle, what are you doing?
It's got my new Greyhound seat.
You don't even have a cart.
Doesn't matter. I have a Greyhound.
Look at this Kyle Cuthbertson. Doesn't even have a go-kart.
Doesn't matter.
Cuthbertson through on Turney. Turney in the dirt.
DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the two-time world champion DPK Alonso Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today.
Back on track. Once again, it's KA Junior Warm-Up Group A. Now on the circuit, it's all the heavy hitters for later on today for the pre-final. Travis Pettit, mind you, will be amongst the top drivers in that field. Also keeping an eye on some of the drivers you see top of the board, such as Forrest Adams, who will get a good starting spot. Tristan Murphy. Keep an eye out for some of the battling here today to move up from about 7 starting spots. Talking a lot about that metric. For the most part, it was Pettit that was the most consistent. That cut off went to Jake Resende, by the way, amongst the 30 karts in the field. Battled out for the top 30 starting spots for the final. So why don't we break down how things were yesterday in terms of the heats. Here's a look at how the lineup as a result of said heats. Pettit, Gabriel Bullock in second. Forrest Adams will start third later today. Antonino in fourth. Nico Kotowski will get a fifth-place starting spot with Remco Lira in sixth position. Murphy alongside Venom Abernathy. Then it's Goldstaff who will start at ninth alongside Palmaderos. Parker Ives showed good promise, but slipped back in both of those races. They'll start 11th. Margo in 12th position. Ryan Mort, Lane in 14th position. Mark Hoffer alongside Landon Brewer. Then Edgar Rodriguez starting 17th. Max Weiland in 18th. Max Berg in 19th with the metric. Donkovic will be all the way back in 20th position. As a result of how things were on the average. Some of the other names towards the back: Gutierrez, Paludo, Tutwiler, Anderson, Tarner, Lane, Santillion, Kidd, and as mentioned, the tiebreaker for the last spot went to Jake Resende for Group A. Top of the board so far, it's Travis Pettit once again. Sweep yesterday in TV Kart USA machine. 82-100 round in second, making 18-1000s over Landon Brewer. This session continues to plant it down on this racetrack. They are ripping the 40-42s at the moment. Again, was a driver a couple years ago in 2023 that finished second in the Stars Championship. It does have the speed there to compete for a title. See the Magic Karts working together to get themselves paced together. Teamwork important, to be able to time things up on speed, to be able to pace yourself around this racetrack, and feel what is needed for these karts on this race day here today. See the Magic Karts in some cases have that success dialed in. See that with AJ Myers in particular, Magic Man putting on some stellar drives in the road show. One of the highest running of the Magic Karts at the moment in 10th position in this session. As Parker Ives of note, bumps them out of the top 10 with the shot up to second on hot lap pace. Get through traffic, no issue it looks like. What they are able to do here. The moment. On by June. He's having some busy times on the touring side of things. Working his way through the ranks. Top of the order here in this session. There's a look at Parker Ives. Talked about him and what he was showing in the races yesterday. That's going to show a bit as well. So far for Parker, it's been a battle on the long run to maintain the track position. He's been able to rest forward. Rose up to about the top 3 or so. Yesterday in heat number 1, dropped back. Yesterday in heat 2, wasn't able to really go forward. And then got shuffled all the way to the back of the top 10 just about. That's why he's going to be starting towards the lead pack for this race today. Or the pre-final, I should say. Checker flag is out, with lots of different drivers shooting up to the top of the board. And a lot of drivers from the bottom of the starting grid getting an opportunity here with how things are sorted. Once these drivers, the way they're looking, Abernathy top of the board right now, Anderson, Paludo, starting 20s march in third on hot lap pace. Just about telling you how close Lonnie's Karts are today. On pace, Landon Brewer now jumped back up to second. They've been able to find something. Preparation for this morning. 4 1,000ths of a second off. The top time of the warm-up session. Anderson, Paluto, Murphy, Berghofer, followed by Antonino, Pettit, Ives, and Valera amongst your top 10 in the session. No, Max Weiland and Gabriel Balog back in 12th and 13th. Behind Emerson Lane, some of the other names down the running order. Darrell's back in 17th. Forrest Adams way down there in 20th position in the session. Isaac Malkiewicz all the way at the tail of the session. So onto the scales they go to weigh things up. Make sure their cars pass technical inspection. Already, few groupings complete for the warm-up sessions. Swift Stars are on deck. Remember the schedule for today. Pre-finals set to start at approximately 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Here today. Pro Show start a little bit earlier than that original time slot. That will be on the broadcast open window, 1:15. Then the finals will go behind the paywall once again, around 2:50-ish, more so. Today is the estimate. Remember the Pro Show, free for all to be able to watch along with the top teams. Here today, the finals. Approximate start time for the coverage window, 1:15 p.m. today. The warm-ups are in approximately 20-30 minutes from now. Pro Show, it's going to be fun to keep an eye on OKN Junior, OKN Stars, and the Pro Stars. See who puts up a star-like performance. Swift Stars, they're now on the racetrack. Now warming up to see what they are able to put up today. Races. Maxwell Macho showed how he was a Macho Kart. Top of the board for later on today's running order. Also had Enzo Guerrero that showed great speed. Jaden Francisco, you can throw in the conversation. Also amongst those battling for some of the wins yesterday in the heat races. De Janeiro now on the racetrack. Carolyn USA Kart wanting to back up the speed that he flashed yesterday. Once more here today. Huge question is going to be, though, how these drivers are able to handle the pressure of an action-packed day like today. So the jitter's going to be in there with just one Perform Light. SCUSA Winter Series champion looking to finish off this weekend strong. That's what you can say. Strong enough to already go for sense and making contact already. Just trying to see how the Kart feels in the midst of a hornet's nest. How it feels with pressure from behind right now. Starts off top of the board. Wolf is amongst the drivers in this train of karts at the moment. Note when it comes to Wolf is going to be amongst the starting grid. He was 5th in the points metric. Had a good second heat. Comes to memory for him for later on today. So 4:20-ish to go here in this warm-up session. Lots of time for these drivers to make sure all their setups in the right spot for the racing today, or at least all their system checks a go. Make sure the karts don't have any issues for when we go racing. Orange Pyramid, one of those you see in this pack now. And amongst those who made that school visit earlier on in the week, in terms of able to meet with students during a STEM event, Chuck developed earlier on in the week. Many of those fans expected to come from that event here today. We'll see a lot of different faces in the grandstands, hopefully. Some of the tickets given away during that school event here in the region. Right now, among some of the notables that have been able to charge up towards the top. Daniel Guerra now up inside the top 5. Thrill up there as well. Perriman jumping up to 4th at the moment too. On the board once again to reset. Holden Myers now up front. He's expected to be amongst the top 10 for the starting grid later on today. He's going to shuffle it back once again as times flew on through. But Myers going in the races was kicked off into the grass yesterday. He too comes to mind for that. For a bit of a loop-de-loop. 2024 USA IMLE Grand National Champion. Ready to try and perform better here today. There are 90 seconds now to work with in this session. Francisco top of the board at the moment. Sparkly design. It's now on showcase. That's the 169 kart. That is Miles Gabaldi, who had issues yesterday when it came to qualifying after the tech inspection line. Had to start in the back of the field. Today, get at least a shot to start near the mid-pack. In fact, in the mid-pack. 17 out of the 30 karts in this class today. If you want a shot from that spot to win, you're going to have a really good race in the pre-final to set you up for the final at minimum. Session just about coming to a close here for this group of drivers now. In the board. See him on screen. Fortunately, after the best of running orders in the metric, 2.2 seconds off the top time. Warm up at the moment. Their team with a lot to work on in preparation for the pre-final today. Sometimes it's also about having fun. Race days like this, they're looking to have some fun. Find some speed later on. Checker flag is out in the session. Francisco stays at the top of the board. DeGennaro in second spot. Wolf, Myers, and Johnson amongst your top 5 in the session. So they now get sent to the scales. Taking our break. More warm-up preparation for today coming up. Again, Francisco, DeGennaro, Wolf, Myers, and Johnson, your top 5 in Swift Stars Warm Up.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Let's go race.
Come on, man.
Welcome back to the racetrack here. Charlotte Motor Speedway, the place. Queen City Gambit, the event. It's time for more warm-ups. It's KA Stars and the B Group on the racetrack to see what they can tune up. Has one kart already with some issues. That's the 966 that's off the racetrack. Some issues in terms of that lineup. Fortune for the 966. That is Byron Daly, who has actually got some crew chiefing experience a few years ago for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. That's now off the circuit. Up at the top of the board of this group, it's Autumn Fisher starting things off. Mason Charger in second. Chris Harrell in third position. Bassie and Knowles amongst the top 5 at the moment. Mind you, the cut line to be able to get in was tight. The metric put 29 points in the way of Joshua Sombelis and Aiden Shimbashi. They were able to tie things up together at least. Putting the top spots in the running order, but keeping in mind the reason they are there. Cut line, seeing Anthony Rivera get the tiebreaker. Looking at the 972 of Shimbashi. Haven't mentioned that name really all weekend. I will say we haven't talked about him much. He's a driver we've seen at SKUSA Nationals and RLK Vegas competition in the past couple of years. The Canadian last time in the SKUSA Nationals and KA 100 Senior finished 68th overall. So let's start. Nick Mercer also amongst the drivers, top of the board in this session. So far, holding on to the 5th position. How things are faring out this session. Some experience from Mercer. Faring as far back as 2023 when he competed in Rotax Senior Trophy competition. Finished off in 29th back that year in Senior Max competition. Still working around with various different cards and get a chance to look at some of the names. Chase Adams there on screen. Up back to Shibashi, who's up to 2nd in session. 43.302 is the benchmark. 43 second 3:02. Still the time by Surgener at the moment. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on how some of these drivers race themselves out today. Drivers in this group we're going to be keeping an eye on today. I think myself is going to be daily just based on the experiences. So as an avid sim racer, but have to come back from the issues obviously in this morning session. See them spiral down the running order. Around and searching some of the air carts you see as they work their way around the racetrack now. That includes 2 machines. And 2 is Evan Santinello, who will be starting 15th in the race. Pre-final for the B final later on in today. 18 drivers take part in the B pre-main. It's going to be the cutoff for the top 10, remember, to move on in the field. It's going to be a battle to see who's going to just be able to get in that top 10 and make the cut. What is a tight field? Some of these cases right now, some of those drivers around that top 10, all covered by within a 1/10 of a second in this session. Simpson now on screen. Simpson start towards the tail for those 116. Starting spot for later on today, but the speed is there for Simpson. It's top 11 in this group here so far. Experience racing in KA 100 Junior, of course. Far back is around 15. Started the racing career 7 years ago. State of Michigan. Originally, the home track, East Lansing, is the big placeholder for Simpson up in the state of Michigan. But for this warm-up session, now closing up here for this group. Adam Fisher able to jump up to the top of the session late on the board as each of these drivers got about 8 or 9 laps put down. Drivers going to be happy about where they placed. Others will have to go to a drawing board and fast, or at least find one. Checker flag waving. Everyone will cross the stripe here to finish up this session. So far, 30 total sessions complete during this weekend, including all the finals, all the racing, all the pre-final, all the warm-up sessions, and all the qualifications so far. Adam Fisher, yet again, top of the board. Mason Surgener in second. Now as Art Harrower and Knowles, see on the left side of your screen, were once that top 5 in this pack. Now quiet track on the circuit for the time being. As we get ready for the other half of the field. Get ready to go here. Remember, we're warming up until around 10 a.m. Eastern Time. After this next grouping of drivers, the Pro Show drivers will hit the racetrack for their warm-up sessions. They're approximately set to start at 9:20 a.m. Eastern Time. OKN Junior to start, then OKN Stars and Pro Stars. Part of that rotation before move behind the paywall and get ready to go racing for the pre-finals for this morning's competitions. So as these motors get all revved up and as these drivers get prepared for a busy morning of racing here on the Stars Championship Series, it's going to be now a matter of preparation continuing. Make sure all the setups are set to go. All these drivers get prepared for another busy time. See the bulletin, by the way, involving the Pro Show. Drivers just getting heads up from the tech director to allow the use of the cylinder protection systems per CIK FIA rules for the OKN, OKN Junior, and Pro Stars for the remainder of the event, just because of how chilly things are at the moment. So, it's time for our next grouping of warming up on the racetrack to go. Okay, Stars, pre-final Group A. Warming up, Jared Clark has been sensational so far this weekend. He and Oliver Morak both swept the action to start things off yesterday for the racing portion of the card. They look to back it up here with some really good speed. Number 26, Chase Biscaglia will be amongst the drivers looking for a much better day today. Biscaglia had a DNF in one race, and the other race was able to race towards the front. However, had part of that NASA panel broken off just about on his kart that handled affected the handling of the 926 machine. Able to get the damage fixed here for today, obviously. To be able to go racing, and now will be trying to claw his way from 24. So first time's coming on through. Here's a reminder of some of the action yesterday. Look, that's how that nozzle panel looked like this. It was hanging on by a thread that entire session, where every lap it got worse and worse and worse, hanging on to some of the panels and bars just by a thread, to the point where it's even scraping the right front tire in the latter stages of the race. Still took the checker flag. That's the bright side for Biscaglia. Could have been much better if there was a clean kart, obviously, by the end of that one. It's an interesting time, to say the very least, is what I would say. Regards to that racing action for Biscaglia. not get a penalty, obviously, for that, just to confirm on the charts as well. 9:16 on screen. That is Clark, who has been the driver to beat. Raw speed has been out right there. He had the tiebreaker to get the pole for the pre-final for the top 30 starting positions later on this morning. So far, keeping things well calm on the pylon. No major charges through the field so far. But really, we know the speed's there. He's been difficult to touch all weekend long. That BJR Kart has been flying every single time he's been on property. Normally has been first in just about every single session he's taken part in. Now it's going to become the huge question. How is it going to matter once we go into the pressure of the racing? Absolutely. Talking to the 927 amongst these drivers in this group. That driver, that is Oliver Hudson. Second impact. Oh, a bit of contact in front of him. Caused a bit of a checkup for a split second. Hudson doing very well. He'll be amongst the top 5 starting spots pre-final A. Getting stronger and stronger as the weekend's gone on also in his kart. Going to be curious to see what he's able to do now for the rest of the day also. One driver I'm curious about too, Enzo Vidmontian. You just seen him move into the top grouping. Had one race where he did not get his starting position due to issues starting to fire up on the grid. Starting in 11th as a result of those issues that he picked up in his heat races. Vidmontian, of course, a Brazilian champion, winner in Supernats competition, 5-time ambassador as well. 5-time champion, rather, in his racing experiences across the globe. He is second, at least, in this session at the moment. How things are working so far. Along with the action, be sure to join the conversation. Be sure to say hello for those watching along here on social media, on Kart Chaser social media platforms, or on YouTube, where you can keep an eye on the conversation and try and start a conversation. Let's chat. Just give a shout to say hello to us here this morning, here from America's Home for Racing. 20 seconds to go now in this session. Clark, Vidmontian, Crouch amongst the top 3. Crouch in the second heat got pushed back quickly. We also have Hudson Brown, Oliver Marak is amongst the top 5. The Canadian so far has been able to put himself in the 42-8. Fast time by Clark, 42.698 in session. Checker flag for this group. Finish things up now for the undercard warm-up sessions. Field finishes up their preparations to go racing later on today. Some exciting action on deck. Jared Clark setting the top time. Enzo Vidmontien and Grouch amongst the top 3. Then it's Brown and Marak in the top 5. Hodgson, Sam Bruski in 7th. Perkins in 8th. Alibet Bay in 9th position. Peyton Phillips in the 10th spot. Scalia all the way back in 11th in his Macron Motorsports machine. Davin Roberts, Henry Taylor, then it was Manny and Chavo in the top 15. Some of the notables down the running order include Justin Music, who is a hard charger in the second heat in 19th. TJ Coyen, who had a good finish as well, start back in 24th. So, more warm-ups to go. Next on get the OKN Junior class. Get their carts all set for their racing when they go racing directly in the Pro Show. Later on today, Pro Show practice now set to go for our competitors in the next few moments or so. See some of the preparations for these drivers as they sit in the carts. Why don't we take a look at how things are going to start for these drivers later today. Tristan Murphy had the best average out of the motos yesterday. He'll start alongside Travis Pettit. Then Marco Samet start in third alongside Max Weiland. Nico Katowski, double duty. Then it's Dermasal Wami. He'll start in 6th. Ahmed Mustafa in 7th. It'll be Ceraville in 8th. Maderos and Risk the top 10. Tyrone Kemper Jr. all the way back at 11th spot. Ashton Wu, after not starting the second moto due to issues on the pace lap, start all the way back in 12th. That will be a kart to watch for in the second moto for a charge. John Antonino behind him. Jose Shermer start 14th. Arthur Barbie will start in 15th position. Herco will start in 16th. Achilles in front of Jeremiah Thomas and Leo Da Silva. And Keith Lewis and Amelia Gus Wunderhold will start in 20th. Walcott and Gutierrez starting at the tail. The field now making its way onto the racetrack to warm up for this session. Remember yesterday's Moto winners. Moto 2 went to Tristan Murphy. Moto 1 went to Ashton Wu. Join in on the fun here this morning. Away we go in terms of the session to see how they fare over the next 7 minutes. Real preparation, remember, for how the racing is going to go for some of these drivers later on today. For these competitors in their final, they'll have 18 minutes plus 2 laps to battle on the racetrack. Give or take about 20-25 minutes per class once you go racing for the Pro Show here today. Competitors having meetings to make sure they were up to speed on what to expect for today. It's expected to be a busy time after that lunch break to go racing for the top car in this event here at the Queen City Gambit. Wu was very frustrated visually, we've seen yesterday. What happened with him not able to get the bump start? Here you see him frantically saying, come on, help me get this kart started. But remember the rules in this class. If you can't get the engine started, it must be pushed off the track. You can't be assisted to get back going. You can see Wu pleading consistently and constantly. Get me back on this track. I want to compete. Would have been the pole sitter for Moto 2. Instead, will start in the final in 12th position. It's going to be a tough spot to try and move ahead, but we know Woon's got speed. That's the bright side for him. Woon so far 6th in this session. Now 4/10 off the top hot lap at the moment. Top hot lap by Jose Shermer in the 42.1s so far this morning. So here on the racetrack and looking for other karts. This is Madero's. He too showed good speed yesterday in the motos. Had that wild finale we seen yesterday, remember, in one of the motos that comes to mind. It was actually a penalty given out to John Antonino for a jump start yesterday that seen Tristan Murphy get awarded the win after a frantic finish in that MotoGP after Max Weiland absolutely sent it into Madero's, sent around that kart. Travis Pettit and all that was able to finish up in 3rd amidst the chaos in a second MotoGP that had 5 different drivers get given penalties, either for pushback bumpers being deployed or 2 different incident penalties, as well as a jump start. Let's head down trackside. Alex is standing by. Alex?
Thanks, Justin, as the OKN-J drivers there on the racetrack for their warm-up session. Let's talk to one of our OKN Stars drivers, Aiden Lorenko. Aiden, it's been a pretty solid weekend for you thus far. Kind of describe how it's been heading into Sunday.
It's been pretty good. We were fast throughout practice. We got up to speed quickly, especially with the weather. Qualified 8th. We had some good heats, got up to 5th in one of them. So we're starting 7th for the final. Feel pretty good. I think we can get like a top 5 if everything goes right, maybe top 3. But yeah, feeling real good.
We didn't get a chance to catch your big moment in Moto 2, but kind of describe to the viewers what happened and how you kept this thing rolling.
So I was going for a pass into the double lefts here when I hit the guy in front of me by accident, and I ended up full lock facing backwards, but I just floored it and spun myself back around, was able to keep going, which is really hard in these karts because if you stall, you're done. So yeah, got pretty lucky, didn't stall, just kept my foot in it and kept going.
You have to make up a little bit more spots now in the main because of that. What does it take to make moves around this place in OKN?
You gotta commit. You gotta resend it in a lot of places, like the hairpin and double zaps. You gotta, doesn't matter if you're 5 kart lengths back, you just gotta send it in. And that means you might lose some time on exit, but that's just how I have to race here, and that's how I've been doing it. It's been working so far, so I'm gonna keep it up. Hopefully it'll work.
Thank you, Aiden.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander Searle, down trackside. Great insight on what to expect from him today. Talking about Lorenko coming back and forth and amongst the crew with what he was able to do yesterday in the racing. And now we'll see how he does later on in the afternoon. Less than a minute to go in the session. John Antonino still top of the board. 41.2 to 48 is the benchmark in this warm-up session. 3 looking very solid for later on today at least. Tyrone Kemper Jr. we were just seeing, but there's Antonino now. Antonino gonna have to try and make sure he doesn't get a jump start, especially if he wants a chance to win. He's got the speed to battle for. We've seen that play out plenty of times yesterday in the motos. Backing up that pace though with a good finish. Check flag coming out in this group. OKN Jr. finishing up a warm-up session. Antonino top of the board. We'll see if there's any changes here to end the session. For the most part, drivers starting to reach their cliffing point. Outside of Ashton Wood, who jumps to 3rd. 41.2. Here's a look at the session results. Antonino, Murphy, Wu, top three. Comadero's in fourth. Then it was Tyler Kemper Jr. in the fifth position. Leo da Silva in sixth. Leonardo Cervell in seventh. Ruben Gutierrez in eighth. Travis Pettit in ninth. Ahmed Mustafa rounding up the top 10 in the session. Jose Shermer in 11th. Nico Gutowski in 12th. Arthur Barbie in 13th. Then it's Saberko in the 14th position. Rist all the way down in 15th. Those drivers half a second off the hot lap time in the OKN Junior warm-up session. Where's the driver scroll on screen? On some of the notables, Wyland did not finish up well in the session, second to last in that group. OKN Stars now getting ready to hit the track for their warm-up. Finnegan Bale with amongst the drivers that will be looking to have a solid day here today. They're showing flashes of speed yesterday. Alex Sharma amongst the top 10 starters for that race during the Pro Show, trying to show that speed for Vice. You walk over to the other side of those lined up. Diego Ramos, he had been pushed off the track during the second moto, still charged up for a great finish. And that's why, in part, with the time metric, he was able to get inside row 2. Set up for later today for PSL karting in the Morel Art. Just keeping calm before they go racing, or at least warming up on the track. These drivers in these cars, like Wesley Gunler, they've got a lot to prove. We've seen some of their team members get shuffled into the Hornet's nest, like Aiden Renko for a lot of time. Renko still got a chance to start right on behind him in the order later today. Drivers now getting that command to go as they get the push to roll. Everyone's going to be chasing the number 40 cars in this session and today in the race. Paulie Massimino has been outright flying with long run pace both races. The first one ending on a red flag, the second under green conditions. He's ran away by upwards of about 2 seconds. So Massimino's kart, once again, has the speed in it to contend to start off this championship just right here for BJR. Closest competitor then he'll have to keep an eye on today, by the way, will be Chase Gassi at Lee, who was able to score second starting spot for later today. Once one of the first drivers hit the racetrack in the warm-up group in the lineup. See how the National Motorsports entry competes with him. Austin Olds looking to do the same thing. Tied up in the metric with Ramos for MPG Motorsports. But the faster time went to Ramos for the tiebreaker. Back over to Old once again. Old's, mind you, experience in different series racing as well. In competitions including the Birchstone Manufacturers Cup Series. He's also raced in competitions in the World Karting Association sanctioning body over time also. Racing since he was 6 years old. One of these drivers starting off young in terms of their experiences. Chase Gassiet-Lee, a rookie in this class. Top of the warm-up session so far, 41 at the moment. We'll note plenty of marbles starting to build up on the racetrack now that we've had plenty of laps turned this morning. I know the drivers hundreds upon hundreds. Now, rubber is going to make it where it's, again, tricky to drive out of the groove. It's touched upon by drivers. It is slippery outside of that groove. Definitely don't want to end up where those black dots are on the pavement. That rubber can carry you away, which did it for a couple drivers into the grass. Drivers up the top of the board, separated by just a tenth of a second or so far in this session. Almost about 4/10 back as well. As Zarathi moves up. Take a look at Bailiff. Bailiff set to start things off later today in the 8th position. Good racing action from him so far, but hasn't been able to join the conversation for the race wins yet. Bailiff, a couple years ago, competing in Super Dance competition, ended up having good speed showcase there, a 34th place in KA100 senior competition in 2024. 31st in that same class back in 2023. Consistently got those same spots in 2022. It was 33rd overall as well. Of course, that big action in Las Vegas this year. Speaking of the action here in this series, Queens of the Gambit, of course, the first race of the season for these drivers, and you have King of the Castle. That will be on June 6th to 8th. But then there's the Quaker City Motorsports Park hosting the Earthquake. That will be a brand new racetrack, making its debut on the schedule. It's talked about by Xander Clements. Finishing up some of its construction currently. Those drivers will go to that new facility in July. Then it's Night Fight Track House back in September in the Concord, North Carolina area. All these drivers spending time testing earlier in the week before going to Charlotte, testing at Track House to make sure their equipment was where it needed to be for when they got on property here at America's Home for Racing. Under a minute to go in the warm-up. Gassiet-Lee, top of the board. Massimino second. That Kart, Ramos in third. It's Gunlord, Zarathi, McKenna, Wheeler, Olds, Orenko, Rogers. How they lined up amongst the top 10 in the session. Our former champion comes to this series. Riding in the tire tracks of the 67 at the moment. That Zoom on through. No issue. Wheeler set to start things off in 6th position later on today. So far has shown that he's got good top 5 pace, but it's been about trying to find that extra step to be able to rejoin the conversation up towards the top and be able to battle for race wins in that Kart. 9 months ago had been on the top step OKN competition. Now he'll be in 7th after his run here today. Gassiet, Lee, Massimino, Ramos, Gunler, McKenna, the top 5. Sarathi, Wheeler, Tarenko, Rogers, the top 10 in the warm-up session for OKN Stars. Bailiff also in 11th spot. Toronto's in 12th position. Clemens Jr., Overbeck. Very quiet session. Didn't even mention James Overbeck's runs in 14th. Towards the back. Had a big crash yesterday in one of the races in 16th. Kolar, Sharma. In 19th in OKN Stars Warm Up 2. Let's look top to bottom at the running order for our second to last warm-up session before we head behind the paywall. Pro Stars set to warm up themselves in their session to close up the morning's preparations for the pre-finals and or finals when it comes to the Pro Show. See the view of the Jumbotron in the backdrop. Beautiful setting here at Charlotte. The entire garage area filled with teams. When you look around the paddock, cart after cart after cart. For people to find and for people to see set up by the various different teams. Some people set up in the NASCAR garages even. Here at the campgrounds and in the infield of Charlotte Motor Speedway. So we continue the preparations now for Pro Stars. They're going to warm up themselves for later on today. We'll see those drivers hit the track soon here at Charlotte.
Karts onto the racetrack and engines coming to life now for our final warm-up session of the morning. Pro Stars headed out onto the racetrack now. Charlie Stein's the first driver out of the pit lane on that Factory Fury GP kart. And to be fair, Justin, this week, coming off of the performance that he had down in Texas 2 weeks ago, probably feels like a bit of a downbeat based on how the two motos have gone, qualifying as well, just kind of hovered in and out of the top 10 bubble, similar to where he was a year ago at this very event here at the Queen City Gambit. That performance he put on at the SCUSA Pro Tour over at Speed Sports, qualifying on the pole, finishing 5th in the main, hanging tough, and with a 2nd and I believe an 8th in the 2 heat races there, along with still a solid run in the pre-final. You would think that parlay's over, but the truth is that driver development and increasing performance over time is not just one continuous upward linear curve. It has, ups and downs, and when you zoom out way out over the year or over multiple years, you can see progression, but not every weekend is building blocks off of the last one. And of course, when you're like Jay Irwin, the bar's pretty high based on how last year went, and you put a lot of pressure on yourself after you've won somewhere and you come back to that same venue with that same series in the same go-kart and package and tire compound to put on that same level of results altogether that he had on the field in to his credit, I think he's actually probably been right on that in terms of what he's been able to control behind the wheel. As we see one driver's gone off, that might have been Logan Hickman there, but yesterday, about as rocky of a road as you can have, right? An engine failure while hunting down the leader, AJ Myers in Moto 1, then turning the luck around with a big win in Moto number 2.
And that's going to put Irwin all the way back in 10th position in terms of where he's going to be starting here for the final later on today. We know that Irwin's got the speed. It's just a matter of what's he going to be able to do. He's seen some good battling yesterday, as you see Shop AKL replay. This is the action with the one car of AJ Myers. When he got the chance, he went back and forth, but eventually Myers just gave him a shot. But that first race was where that motor just created. He's trying to keep going in the battle, went around, spun around. That set things up for a busy second race of the day, where he was able to pass by his teammate and eventually claw his way up to Myers, who just let him on go, because Myers, even with that pass, had the points in his favor for the starting position to start on the pole.
With that, Jay was able to kind of cruise to the finish, but AJ was nice to one red go-kart. He was a little bit less nice to another in that same session. We saw Mateus Morgado have that same late session pace that Jay Irwin did back in that second moto, and while AJ was determined to keep the 2.62 behind him. Let's go down to pit lane. Good morning, Alex.
We're talking about with Jay Irwin how impressive it was that he was able to make so many moves through that moto. He's gonna have to do a lot more in the main event today. Speaking of Mateus Morgado, his teammate, asking him, what is it like around this track? He said, listen, first of all, my first time here compared to my teammates who were here last year, it was tough. He missed out on a lot of practice with the wet weather, so he really got one session before quali. He's been finding more and more pace as the motos went on yesterday, but he said, listen, I had a lot more pace in the package, but the problem is once you catch somebody around this place, the aero wash gets pretty bad with the shifter package, and you just get stuck. We saw it with him and AJ Myers yesterday in that second moto in particular, so he said, listen, as long as I can get up front, I feel like I have the pace to go out there and get a win.
That's why those first laps are so critical, and of course the last laps of the race when you have a much less grip than the middle part, when the air pressure is good and the tires are still relatively fresh and not overheated. Justin, in the opening couple laps, air pressures are low, especially for the extensive mains that the pro drivers will run here today, 18 minutes plus 2 laps. The end of the race, the tires are going to be roasting hot. They start sliding around for grip, and you can have a little more disparity in traction and disparity in lap times, and that's where we've seen Mateus Morgado kind of ride in the middle of the main events, and then in the final few laps pull the pin and be able to have a little bit more than everyone else. Because, yeah, Alex's point about the aero wash, this track, it flows really nicely. It has a lot of high-speed, high-load corners. Even Eli Fox talked about it when Alex chatted with them on the grid before yesterday's second moto, that it is one of the most physically demanding, if not the most physically demanding circuit these Pro Stars drivers are going to race on this year, and they're all coming off pretty gassed. So what that does, high speed, high load through the center of a long corner, well, it forces the kart to use every bit that it has to stay planted and carry as much minimum roll speed in the turn, and that includes the body work. And when it doesn't have the air hitting it because of a kart in front, that's that aero washer understeer effect. Now, something has gone wrong, obviously, for AJ Myers here in the warm-up. The Magic Man standing off to the side right now. The number 1 plate only got a couple laps in, currently slotted 8th on the board. We'll see if we can figure out what happened to him. Gage Korn, he's gone to 3rd. We followed the rookie around. The 14-year-old's going to start inside the top 5 rows today. He got swallowed up a bit on the starts in the motos, but he knows the speed's there. If he can survive that opening couple of laps, maybe really just that opening first sector, he could be a serious threat for some hardware here at the Queen City Gambit. And if there's anyone that knows how to make up for lost time, it's Ian Quinn. 2 weeks ago, having to drive from the back of the field after not finishing a single heat race or pre-final. And then this event last year, we saw the 297 of Ian Quinn have to drive from 16th, and he made it all the way up and into 2nd. Now, today he'll start a little better. The Lap times, though, are not too promising. 8th right now and 7/10 to his PSL karting teammate, or Alliance teammate, as he's sporting the Steel Motorsports Bureau Art colors here this weekend, but 8/10 to find to get to Morgado, 7.5 or 6.5 to get to Jay Irwin. And it looks like Jay Irwin, well, his engine was not the only one to expire here in the Pro Stars class, getting confirmation that AJ Myers, that Magic Kart Sony-powered machine, has let go down at turns 1 and 2. So an engine seizure for the Magic Man in warm-up is going to send him to a backup for the main event. And that obviously can throw your headspace out for a bit of a spin here when you knew what you had in all the motos. You knew it was relatively strong, and now, well, you're going to potentially be flying blind in that Mazda Motorsports Pro Show final.
Yeah, that's going to add a lot of pressure for that, especially with him being on the pole. That motor is going to have to perform perfectly if it wants a true shot of the win. And now it's going to provide a lot more encouragement for some of those drivers to say, I'm just going to go for it and put them into traffic to start things off in the race, you'd have to think.
There's a look at the 276. Frankie Iadavea, a quiet Saturday, but a good one. He made up spots in both motos to drive into the top 10. He'll be starting inside the top 10 later on today in their main event. And the Maranello driver is hoping to bring the red, yellow, and black cars to 3 deep inside the highest finishing positions. Justin White and Gage Korn, obviously, like him, have shown a lot of speed. Talon Yockel, a former Pro Stars champion, former night fight winner last year, entered with that number 1 plate, and an up and down season saw AJ Myers be able to walk away with the title. This year, he starts the Charlotte event with, once again, a different chassis manufacturer than the last time he was here. This time, an Intel Kart, but pitting over with the Steel Motorsports camp, getting to work with Ian Quinn and the like, and the two of them can sort out what they've got in that Intel Kart Bureau Art Alliance, but very similar material. I believe that actually may be the very same frame. They could be quick. Here's a look at the schedule again today. We're going to take a quick break. We're getting closer to pre-final action here from Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll be right back. Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this Brandon business, okay? Brandon this, Brandon that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. A long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
It's like $20 a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like $50 a month.
And you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all of the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
The K1 Circuit Semi-Pro League. This is a competitive race series with 2 classes. Junior Series for those who are under the age of 18, and the Senior Series for those who are 18 or older. If you think you have what it takes, come out and prove your skills on League Night. Both schedules are live on the K1 Circuit website. Your Kart Chaser live feed will resume shortly.